My name is Joe Zadalis, and I'm a member of the NJ.com high school football staff, and we're here to talk football and preview all 23 sectional finals this weekend from Thursday through Sunday. I'm here with my NJ.com colleagues. Bill Evans, he covers the West Jersey Football League in South Jersey. JJ Conrad covers the Big Six. Pat Lanny covers both the NJIC and the Super Football Conference. Matt Stipulkowski does a little more of Northwest Jersey in the Super Football Conference, and Jeremy Snyder does the GMC and the Mid-State 38. Guys, I know we've all seen our share of great players this year at different schools, but since we all have different assignments this week, I thought I'd ask you all, what players are you looking forward to see for the first time? I know in my case, I'm thrilled to be able to finally go see Justin Shorter, the big, strong, fast wide receiver from South Brunswick. I know he's going to Penn State. I'm a big Penn State fan. I can't wait to see what this kid could do. From everything you guys have talked about, from those of you who've seen him, he's a threat to go all the way as a kick returner, as a defensive back, as a receiver, as a running back, and he'll even throw the ball once in a while. So as we go around, I'm going to ask you guys to just pick a guy that you're looking to see this weekend. Stip, who are you looking to see?
I'm really looking forward to seeing Marquez Antonori, the running back from Old Japan. Got a chance to see him once or twice last year, but haven't gotten a chance to see him this year. And from what I remember, he's just a big, physical, downhill runner. Loves to run to contact and really, throw a shoulder into some guys when he gets the chance. His numbers this year are really solid, just short of 1,000 yards, 17 TDs on 152 carries. Definitely a big difference maker, and he helps set the tone for that Old Japan offense. Just looking forward to see what he can do in that North 1 Group 4 final against Mount Olive.
Jeremy, I know you've been talking for a couple days now about going to see one of the state's most productive players.
Yeah, Dave Estevez, the quarterback for Riverdale. I haven't had a chance to see him yet. He has 1,500 passing yards, almost 1,000 rushing yards, 13 passing touchdowns to just one interception, and some rushing touchdowns on top of that. Really, a true dual threat, can kill a defense either way, and I think Ramapo is going to have their hands full in the North 1 Group 3 final. Really excited to see what he can do.
Bill, you're going to be down at Rowan where all the South Jersey finals are being played. The player you're going to talk about, I've had the pleasure of seeing, and he is trying to win his third ring. He won his first one at Matawan, and he's trying to win a second one at Mater Dei. Tell me about the guy you're anxious to see.
Yeah, I can't wait to see Mater Dei. Quarterback George Pearson, as Joe said, going for a third title. He's been a big time player. He threw the pass last year, the hook and lateral to help beat Holy Spirit this year. He brought Mater Dei back against Holy Spirit to win 35-34, and this could be his toughest test yet against a really good undefeated St. Joe's team and defense. He beat them last year in the semifinals, 27-0, and it's going to be a big test for him this year. But he'll be going on to Central Michigan, and we'll be watching him on Tuesday nights on the ESPN in the future. But I'm looking forward to seeing him on Sunday afternoon.
JJ, I know you spent most of the season in the non-public ranks, but you're going to have the opportunity to see another productive player, but a public school guy.
Yeah, that's for sure. Danny Webb, he actually left his mark against the non-public this year against Seton Hall Prep, 300-plus yards, 5 touchdowns, I believe. He's been banged up throughout the year, but him and Montclair will be taking on Union City in the North 1 Group 5 final at MetLife. Banged up throughout the year, still's racked up 1,300 yards, 23 touchdowns on just over 100 carries. So he's finding the end zone about once every 4 carries, which is pretty impressive stuff. Pat, you've seen a lot of Danny Webb, but who are you looking forward to seeing?
Yeah, I love Danny Webb. He's so elusive in the open field. But I'm going to jump it down from Group 5 to Group 1. And this is a guy with a very familiar name to the New Jersey high school football community. It's Luke Fraunheim. His grandfather actually is one of the winningest coaches of all time in New Jersey over at Immaculata. So Luke Fraunheim is playing for Point Pleasant Beach. He'll be quarterbacking that team, and he's coming off 2 great come-from-behind victories for 7th-seeded Point Pleasant Beach. So if Point Pleasant Beach is going to do it again, they're going to take on Middlesex in the Central Jersey Group 1 final at Kane. I'll be on hand for that one. I'm looking forward to see what Luke Fraunheim can do in that one.
Guys, we're going to move on. Next topic. 23 games, they're all obviously big to the teams playing in those, but I've kind of pulled out three that I think have a little extra juice. And the first one is the Thursday night game, 8 o'clock at MetLife, that matches number 8 Westfield and number 20 Bridgewater-Raritan. These two teams will be meeting in the sectional final for the third straight year. Westfield is on an incredible winning streak right now. They've won 36 games in a row. Jeremy, you've seen both teams. Does Bridgewater have what it takes to end the streak, the Westfield streak, and their own personal losing streak to Westfield?
You know, I wasn't so sure, but then I saw Bridgewater pummel a really good Piscataway team in the semifinals. Anthony Goff, their junior running back, is just a beast, and when he gets ahead of steam, he's really hard to take down. But I'm not really ready to pick against Westfield. At 36 straight games, I know they haven't all been pretty wins, but Jim DeSarno is as good a coach as you'll find in the state. He has this defense playing at an elite level. Hank Shapiro coming into his own as a quarterback. It's such a great rivalry. We've been looking forward to this game all year. Really happy we get to see it. And I think it's going to be really close.
Well, Westfield hasn't had the great offense this year. As a matter of fact, they've won 5 games by 7 points or less, but they really can play some serious defense.
Exactly. When you have a defense that good, you don't need to score that many points. They graduated so many players from last year's offense and defense. I was frankly surprised they've been this good this year. And, it's a testament to the players they brought back and a testament to the coaching. And, yeah, of all the games, I definitely have my eye on this one the most.
The second game that I'm looking at closely is the battle for the number 1 ranking in the NJ.com Star Ledger Top 20, and that matches number 1 Bergen Catholic and number 2 St. Peter's Prep, and that's a rematch game. JJ, Bergen Catholic has won 8 games in a row. Is there any way that they could have peaked too early, or they won't be ready to play in this game in your mind?
Peaking too early? I don't think so. I mean, this is what they've been expecting. I mean, we had them pegged as the number 1 team in the state back in August. And that was for a reason. They're loaded on both sides of the ball. They're healthy right now. Josh McKenzie's recovered from his head injury, suffered the regular season finale. Nunzio Campanelli said that wide receiver Dylan Classy is healthy, and he's back practicing after taking last week off with an ankle injury. Johnny Langan has made it through the whole year. There's been no QB problems with Bergen Catholic this year. And, they beat the team they'll be seeing Friday night already, 41-14. It's a little bit – the score was not indicative of how close that game really was, and Nunzio Campanelli will tell you that, but they're definitely the favorite.
Pat, talk a little bit about St. Peter's Prep. I mean, I know JJ just said the game was a lot closer than that, but that's a lot of points to make up. Does St. Peter's have that offense that can do that? We know they have the defense. We know they have the 3 kids going to Notre Dame, but can they make up that kind of ground?
Offensively, yes. And the reason why is because of quarterback Masai Maynard. He's just efficient, and he can spread the ball around. He's got a bunch of big body receivers out there, Shane Simon, Chase Jones, Mark Walker. They're possession receivers that can just make plays on the outside and make it very easy for Maynard. Even though he's an exceptional talent himself, he can, run it, throw it. I'm looking for him to have a much better game than he did against Bergen Catholic. Just the offense to get rolling behind Maynard, who had an exceptional game against Don Bosco in the first round, was precise with his passing, only had 2 incompletions in the first half. So I'm looking at Maynard to really have a much better game and pick up that slack and that deficit from the first game.
And something that could help Maynard is a more efficient running game, which we have been seeing with St. Peter's Prep, specifically last week against Paramus Catholic with Don Malaya. And also Zamir Minkins gets in there as well. So, and that's something Rich Hansen said is they're coming into their own offensively at the right time of year, basically. So I expect a little bit different game than the first time around. But like I said, I still think Bergen Catholic is the favorite.
And one of the things you mentioned earlier today, JJ, was the fact that it's been a while for Bergen Catholic winning the title. And I it's funny, I didn't even think that way. When was the last time they won?
It's been 13 years, and you ask anyone at Bergen Catholic, they're sick of hearing about it. They have the team to end that streak on Friday. We'll make our picks later on, but I think you know where I'm leaning. I think Bergen Catholic gets it done.
And guys, the last game, and this one has as much stuff going on off the field, as it probably will have on the field later this week, the St. Joseph, Montvale, and DePaul rematch from a regular season game. It's been an interesting year for St. Joe. They've been called before the NJSIAA Controversies Committee for the second time within a month. There are some penalties that can be assessed. At the time of this taping, the hearing before the Controversies Committee is still set for Thursday. Step, is this going to be a distraction for St. Joe's?
I mean, it's a fair question. I think Augie Hoffman will be doing a pretty good job of keeping his guys concentrated. They're all hungry to try to win a second state title here. They beat DePaul in this game last year, so they know what it takes to win here. But like you mentioned, I mean, Joe's and Pope John, after those two teams got in a little brawl at the end of their semifinal game, both of those schools are going down to the NJSIAA on Thursday. Hanging over this game is the potential penalties. Joe's already on probation because of the first hearing you mentioned that had to do with some recruiting stuff. Some potential penalties here, or some possible suspensions, fines, probation. Some of the things mentioned in the NJSIA rules are potential forfeiture of games and titles. I mean, we have no idea how the hearing is going to shake out, but the cloud of all that stuff does hang over this game, unfortunately. But on the field, it should be a great game. I mean, these two teams played at the end of the regular season. I was there for that one. DePaul took a 21-6 lead into the fourth quarter, and then Nick Patty and the St. Joe's offense just came to life. They rattled off 22 unanswered points over the final 12 minutes and picked up a 28-21 win. I mean, if this game is anything like that last game, it's going to be an awesome classic game at Kane on Saturday.
Now, folks, we haven't forgotten about South Jersey. There are going to be some excellent finals there, and the one Bill and I have been eyeing up for weeks is the Group 5 final matching Lenape and Rancocas Valley. Rancocas Valley won the regular season matchup 10-7. This game matches two of the finest running backs in the state, JoJo Kellum from Lenape and Iverson Clement, who had 149 yards the first time. Bill, how do you see this game going this time around?
I think there'll probably be a few more points put on the board. I mean, Lenape, over the last few years has had just a tremendous defense. Offensively, they just haven't been overly explosive, but that's changed a little bit this year. Kellum, who was banged up a lot of last year, he's healthy. I think he can be a difference maker. He didn't play well in that first matchup. I expect he'll be a lot better this time. And then, like you said, Clement, Florida commit, obviously, arguably one of the best running back in the state. So I mean, I think you're going to see a lot of good running game, good defense, a little higher scoring, I think, than 10-7, but just a hard hitting, really competitive football game.
Well, I covered the first one, and I thought it was the poorest tackling game Lenape could possibly have. Clement burned him with a lot of yards after contact. I expect head coach Tim McEnany to clean that up. But Bill, staying in South Jersey, when you talk about the games down there, you also have to note who's not going to be there. Timber Creek and its all-world quarterback Devin Leary won't be playing. Defending South Jersey 5 champion Millville won't be playing. Realistically, it's been a wild tournament in South Jersey. Can you talk about a couple of the upsets and strange happenings down there?
Yeah, well, Group 5, South Jersey Group 5, we knew from the beginning was going to be one of the deepest, most competitive in the state. RV beat Millville 15-14. They were down 14-0 in the fourth quarter. It looked like Millville was heading back to its second straight final. It got to 14-7, and they made the mistake of punting to Clement, who broke a couple tackles, trick play for the conversion, and now RV was in the final. I don't know how big of it. It's definitely an upset, but Timber Creek now won't be going to the final for the first time in 7 years. It's going to be really weird showing up there and not seeing them. They lost a crazy game to Delsey. They had a 30-27 lead in the fourth quarter and couldn't field a punt and a kickoff, and Delsey wound up winning that 41-30.
And Leary threw an interception, which
he's only done probably a handful of times in the last 3 years. It was a crazy second half, and Timber Creek kind of shot itself in the foot, and Delsey really did obviously step up, especially their quarterback Mason Maxwell, who had a tremendous all-around game. This will be Delsey's sixth straight time in the final. This probably should have been the final, but Delsey had to forfeit a game earlier this year for an ineligible player that knocked them down to the 4 seed. So we got that game around early.
And just talk real quick about the South Jersey Group 2 game, a bitter rivalry matching West Deptford and Haddonfield again.
Yeah, this is, to me, has been over the last decade or so probably the best rivalry in South Jersey. They've been in the same division, previously in the Colonial Conference and now in the West Jersey League. They've both been South Jersey Group 2 for the whole time. This will be their 15th matchup in the last 9 years. 6 times in 9 years they've met in the playoffs, either in the final or earlier in the playoffs, where one or the other, whoever won that game, wound up winning the group. So, like you said, a very competitive rivalry this year. For the second time in 4 years, the regular season meeting ended on an overtime field goal. West Deptford won 17-14. There were a couple guys banged up and out of that game, getting them from West Deptford. David Smith from Haddonfield, who didn't play, so I think this could be a different type of game this time around.
Now, guys, we've been making picks and bold predictions all year, so we're not going to stop now. So I'm going to run through the sections and ask you guys who are experts in those areas to make some picks for us. JJ, give us your winners in non-public 4.
I'm going Bergen Catholic over St. Peter's. It'll be a closer one than what they did in the regular season. Not going to be a 30-point game, but Bergen sticks to what has gotten them there, which has been a strong running game and a timely defense. They give up some points, which I think there will be points in this one, but let Josh McKenzie do what he does, let Ramir Johnson do what he does, and defense with Javante Jean-Baptiste. He's having a heck of a year. I like Bergen, high scoring, close game, first state title in 13 years.
Step, give us your pick in non-public 3.
I love DePaul and their quarterback Jaquan Roberson, their running back and linebacker Vinny DePalma, but until proven otherwise, you got to go with St. Joe's here. I mean, they're just so good. They won last year. They've beaten DePaul in 13 straight games. The last time DePaul beat St. Joe's, it was 1973. So, I can't go in the face of history. It's going to be a close game. It'll be tight down the stretch, just like in the regular season. But I'm going to have to lean with St. Joe's here in the tight one.
Patrick, who do you like in the North 1 Group 5 final?
Yeah, Union City and Montclair. It's an interesting rematch again, but Union City is the only team to hold Montclair under 30 points this season. So that's a nice little star on their series this year. Montclair is a high-powered offense. And Union City, held them to under 30, but they still lost, and it was kind of one-sided. So I'm sticking with Montclair. I think they're going to stick to what they've done all year, run the ball with Danny Webb, and when Taryn Earl needs to throw it, he can do it.
JJ, back to you for your selections in North 1 Group 3 and 4.
We'll start with North 1 Group 4. I think no one's been really gotten in anyone in Ultapan's way this year. They've outscored their opponents 448 to 86, but so that's almost a 400-point advantage in their favor. They're experienced here. It's their 3rd time coming here. They'll be at MetLife. They're taking on Mount Olive. I saw their game a couple weeks ago. It was about 2 degrees. Brian O'Connor's doing a great job, but they're Step. I believe they were 1-9 last year.
Yeah, they were 1-9. They've turned it around, 10-1 this season so far. A great turnaround for Mount Olive.
Great turnaround, great season for them, but I think there's Ultapan, too much firepower, too much Marquez Antinori. They got the revenge, they got the motivation factor after losing it, a heartbreaker to Riverdale last year. I think Ultapan caps a perfect season. This is also a rematch, Riverdale and Ramapo. Ramapo won round 1. I think Riverdale takes it in round 2. Similar thing happened last year. Ramapo beat Riverdale in the regular season. Riverdale comes back in the state semifinals, beats Ramapo on its way to picking up a state title last year. And I don't want to pick against Dave Estevez. Dude's a magician with the ball, especially late in the 4th quarter. Ramapo won the first meeting 23-20. Similar score this time. I think Riverdale gets it done.
We're going to go back to Stip now, and he's going to give us his pick in North 1 Group 2. Stip?
Yeah, this is another game that we've already seen. These two teams, Newton and Lakeland, squared off back in the beginning of October, and Newton picked up a pretty comfortable win, 47-14. I think this one is a little bit tighter, but I still think that the Braves get it done here. And if they do, it'd be a huge win for Newton, capping off their first state title and their first ever undefeated season. I think it'll be closer, like I said, but we're still sticking with the Braves here.
Did you say it would be their first state title earlier today in 100 years?
Yeah, this is their 99th season of football in Newton, and this would be their first title. So, one game away from quite an achievement for the Braves.
Sure would be. JJ, back to you, and then we'll let you off the hook. But how about your pick in North 1-1?
This is, I went back, I've been going back and forth on this one. Hasbrook Heights, Pompton Lakes. I'm going to go Hasbrook Heights. Pat, you've seen a couple of them recently, right?
Really tight.
They're just
really
finding
tight.
ways to win since losing a tight one against Rutherford, who's also in the sectional final over there in North 2, Group 2. Josiah Purdy, he does literally everything for them. He'll probably be the best player on the field. But Pompton Lakes counters with Frank Negrini, who has probably close to 25, 30 touchdowns this year. I think he has 8 in the playoffs alone. But Hasbrook Heights is going for the repeat. They beat New Milford. A little bit of controversy in the semifinals, that field goal block. But they're here. They're here again. I think they repeat in North 1, Group 1.
Schneids, you kind of alluded to your pick in North 2-5 a little bit, but tell us a little more why you're thinking the way you are.
I really think this one's a pick-em. Westfield's playing well. I think Bridgewater might be even playing better. Definitely more impressive in the state tournament. Just have a hard time going against a team that's won 36 straight games and 2 straight titles and has a really good coach and a really strong defense. They've been in this stage before. They're not phased. They're not afraid of playing a close game. I have a feeling Westfield's going to get win number 37 and state title number 3 in a row. Bridgewater's Greg Verano at quarterback has really stepped into the role well, especially as of late. And the Bridgewater defense, Chike Nwankwo and Justin Bryant, are 2 of the best linebackers in the state. And I think they could give Westfield's running game some trouble. Just a gut feeling. I just don't think Westfield's losing this, but it's a pick 'em. I wouldn't be surprised either way.
My question to you would be, though, does Westfield have to score more than 13 points to win the game?
I don't think they do. I think their defense is that good, and I don't know if they'll score 13. It could be 13-10. I picked a close one, and Westfield's defense has faltered at times down the stretch, but nothing to the point of defeat. So I think they have what it takes defensively.
Okay.
And as far as North 2 Group 4, a game we haven't really talked about yet, we got Phillipsburg and North Hunterdon, West Jersey rematch. I was there when they played out at Phillipsburg, and Phillipsburg lost their star running back, Joe Green, on the first drive of the game and still won convincingly. North Hunterdon is excellent. They have a really, really great quarterback in Matt Busher, can throw it, can run it. But Phillipsburg, offensively, they're just too big. And they didn't have any trouble with North Hunterdon even without Joe Green. Joe Green's playing. I think they're even more confident. Their offensive line is huge. Jack Staggert's playing really well. Quarterback throwing the ball well. I have a feeling Phillipsburg is pulling the state title in North 2 Group 4.
Aren't you a little bit concerned, though? I mean, Peaburg has not played well its last 2 games. They barely slipped by
Irvington 21-20.
And then they lost on Thanksgiving Day in one of the greatest high school rivalries in the country. I mean, if you're going to be flat for that game, do you worry about them being flat for the state final?
That's a very good point. And, the whole Thanksgiving thing, when you're playing a state title the next week, it can be tricky. I don't know if they were resting people. I don't know if they were just taking it easy, but it's a little concerning. But I've just been so impressed every time I've seen Phillipsburg this year. I saw them take down Hillsborough very easily, and then taking down North Hunterdon when they played a couple weeks back. The way they play, the way Frank Duffy is coaching right now, I feel real good about the State Liners.
Okay, Stip, give us a pick in North 2 Group 2.
This one, Rutherford, Hackettstown. Hackettstown, one of the nice Cinderella stories so far. 6th seed, making it to the state final. This is their first winning season since 2008. But Rutherford's the top seed for a reason, and they have to be favored here. I think it's going to be a close game between 2 solid teams, but I'm going to give the Bulldogs from Rutherford a little bit of an edge here.
Should be a great game. Pat, give us a pick in the rematch of the Soul Bowl.
Soul Bowl, between Shabazz and Weequahic, always 3,500, 4,000 fans there on Thanksgiving, and Shabazz came out on top 7-0. This is the second year they're playing again for a championship. And, it's just two physical teams. Weequahic really likes to get up, blitz a lot. Both teams blitz a lot. And I just think Shabazz didn't show a lot in that 7-0 win, even though they came away with
a lot of vanilla on Thanksgiving.
A lot of vanilla. Because in the regular season, they could air it out, and they were, hitting big plays through the air. And I just think that we're going to see a little bit more of that, and that 7-0 score isn't really going to stick. But I'm still sticking with Shabazz, but just in a higher scoring game.
Okay.
Laney, we're going to be covering North 2, Group 3 together. What do you think about that one?
Yeah, that's a good one. I saw West Essex earlier in the season, and their game is always, ball control offense, option offense, and they played a lot of close games early in the season. I think that set them up down the stretch. They rattled off 9 straight wins. They're coming into this game hot, and I know George Eberle is your guy at Voorhees.
He's a monster.
So I think West Essex has to find a way to shut him down. But what can you tell me about him?
He runs it, he throws it, he kicks it. He's a kicker also. He's had an excellent year. Voorhees, part of this West Jersey football revival, having an excellent year to play Northumberland really tough in the Milcan game before losing, and they've made a nice run to get here. I think it's a tough pick. I think I agree with you, but I think Northumberland has Voorhees has the weapons to to make this a really good game.
Yeah.
Okay, that's going to be interesting. Bill and I are going to talk a little bit about South Jersey right now. Bill, I want to start off with non-public too. You've seen, I've seen Mater Dei. You've seen St. Joe Hamilton. I saw St. Joe Hamilton in a scrimmage in August. They're huge, and they pound the rock. Who do you think is going to win this game?
I have trouble picking against St. Joe's this year. Jada Byers has been one of the breakthrough stars in this state. Wide receiver, running back, punt returner. He can kind of do it all. That they have a punishing ground game behind Quassine Townsell and a really good defense. Obviously, their coach Paul Sacco is won over 300 games. Up until they lost to Mater Dei last year, they'd won 7 straight state titles, and that they've gotten revenge for a lot of the losses that they had last year. And then this would be the final one to knock off the team that ended their streak, and I think they're really reared up and ready to do it.
Well, Mater Dei is another team that has faced the wrath of the NJSIAA this fall as the result of using 6 ineligible players in a game that went from a game to a scrimmage. Their head coach, Dino Mangiero, and their offensive coordinator are both not allowed to coach on game days. So Mater Dei is going to be without its head coach. A former head coach, Shannon Hodesley, has done a really nice job. Mater Dei is not as talented all around as they were a year ago when they won the title. But I will tell you this, those 6 kids who were ineligible and ultimately led to the penalty are all ready to play now. And I'll go with St. Joe Hamilton, but I think it's going to be real close because George Pearson knows how to win in December, and I think that's going to be a great game. Bill, what about your picks in South 1 and South 2?
To me, these are potentially the 2 most entertaining games of the weekend. South 1, you have Paulsboro and Pensgrove. 4 years ago, Paulsboro went to a spread no-huddle offense after having a little bit of a championship drought. This is now their 3rd time in the championship game since then. Pensgrove made a similar switch this year. They've been putting up over 40 points and sometimes over 50 and 60 in almost every game this year. I think they've only been held under 35 once. I think this is going to be a high-scoring game, but I think the fact that Paulsboro has, because they've run a similar type of offense and they've practicing it, they probably know how to defend it. They obviously have that championship pedigree. I'm going to take them in a close Paulsboro in a close high-scoring game over Pensgrove, and then the other one, Hatfield West Deptford. As I've said, you kind of flip a coin. They've played so many times in the playoffs, and more often than not, the team that won the regular season meeting lost it in the playoffs because they are so close. It's a very difficult pick, but I think Haddonfield, they're on a little bit of a run now. They lost 3 straight going into the playoffs and then kind of picked it up, and their offense looks really good, and I just think that they might pull one out here, maybe on a late field goal or something like that.
Now, what about Group 3? After knocking off Timber Creek, is Delsea, an extreme favorite here?
Yeah, for sure. They played Woodrow Wilson in late October. I thought it was going to be a great game, and Delsey wound up winning 43-12. So combined with the fact that they just beat one of the top teams in the state, what they did about a month ago. Again, championship pedigreed. This is their sixth straight time here. Wilson hasn't. None of these players have been in a final. It's Wilson's first time in over 15 years. They have a really good junior quarterback in Nick Cargman, who has put up monster numbers this year when he's been healthy, but threw 4 interceptions in that last game. I think it'll be a lot closer, but it's hard to see Wilson making up 30 points in a month, and I just think Delsey's the play here.
Now in South Jersey Group 4, it's a good news, bad news kind of thing. The good news for Hamilton is it's been on a hot streak and it made it to the South Jersey Group 4 final. The bad news, they're playing Shawnee, who handed them one of their most lopsided losses during the regular season.
Yeah, South Jersey Group 4 was kind of wide open from the beginning, and I think everybody looked at Shawnee as the favorite, even though they were the 4th seed. That they went through some injuries this year and some close losses. They've obviously played well in their 2 playoffs games before they got kind of got beat on Thanksgiving Day by 45-0, but by a really good Lenape team. Hamilton came into the playoffs. They lost 6 out of 7. All those losses were by double digits. They're probably one of the most unlikely finalists in the state, but they took advantage of a side of the bracket where, again, any team could have won, and they played their best ball. They've had 2 weeks to prepare because they didn't have a Thanksgiving Day game. But as similar to Delsey Woodrow Wilson, 38-6 a few weeks ago. Hard to see them making up that kind of deficit, especially with the talent that Shawnee has and the fact that they're should be a little bit healthier. So Shawnee, again, the heavy favorite here.
And we talked so much about the Lenape Rancocas Valley game earlier. I know we differ on the kind of game we think it's going to be. I still think it's going to be close to the vest because both coaches play it that way. I do think Lenape's going to have to complete a couple of throws to back that Lenape defense off. I like Lenape by a touchdown.
Yeah, and I don't think it's going to be 10-7 again. I don't know that it's going to be 35-28 either. Both teams have good senior quarterbacks, and in addition to the running backs who we've talked about. Last 3 games for Lenape: 35 points against Vineland, 63 against Hale, 45 against Shawnee. These are all good teams, and I just think that RV's not going to be able to hold Lenape to 7 points again. Like you, I think that Lenape is going to score a little bit more this time. They're still going to play that great defense. It's going to be a little bit higher scoring game, but I think Lenape winds up winning its first title here and gets revenge for its only loss.
And I'll run through the Central Jersey selections. In Group 1, I like Middlesex. Great ground game. They handled Point Beach rather easily the first time they played them, so I'm going to go with Middlesex over Point Beach in CJ1. In CJ2, Point Pleasant Borough has been an absolute revelation. I don't think there's very many seats left on their bandwagon, but I'm hoping there's at least one more for me. After picking them to lose to Manasquan last week, I see James Farah, the quarterback at Point Borough, leading the Panthers to a big victory over Hillside. In Group 3, another matchup. These 2 teams played in the semifinals last year, and Rumson shut down the high-powered Somerville offense then. I think the Rumson defense will do it again. Rumson has another productive tailback in Peter Lucas. I like Rumson winning their 3rd straight CJ3 title and their 5th straight title in a row. In 4, another rematch. Freehold won the first one 27-20 on a last-minute touchdown pass by Ashanti Worthy. I like Long Branch avenging that. I've said this all year long. The key for Long Branch is running the football. If their sophomore tailback, Corbett, can get 20 carries and near 100 yards, Long Branch wins the game. In the last game, he had less than 20. Folks, if you haven't seen Ashanti Worthy, he is worth the price of a ticket. In the first round of the playoffs, the kid himself had 600 yards of total offense. He handles the ball on every play, and JJ used the term magician for David Estevez. This kid is David Copperfield. He makes other teams disappear. He really does. And finally, in Group 5, they're back. They took a little bit of a beating last year, but Manalapan is on fire. Another great running back in this game, Nia Mayfield. What did you figure he was averaging per carry, Steph?
I think it was around 14 and a half yards, something like that when we were doing the math earlier. I mean, just unbelievable, outrageous numbers.
Was he scoring a touchdown every?
Less than every four. Yeah,
less than every four carries. So I like Manalapan over South Brunswick. And for us, that's going to be it for today. But just one quick reminder, fans, NJ.com is your one-stop source for everything playoffs, starting Thursday night at MetLife right through Sunday night at Rowan. We will have streaming live video from MetLife, Rutgers, and Kane. We will have live updates from every game at every site, and of course all the stats and stories as New Jersey crowns its 23 football champions. For all of us here at NJ.com, enjoy the games, everybody.